Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. This is a photo of a book cover.
Yeah.
It's so the color of the main image is like a peach color, and then overlaid on top of that is in a darker kind of peach. Could be trees, could be rocks, could be waterfall. I think it's like a female figure standing. Oh, actually, no. There's a girl kind of in a tree, and then on top of it, well, at the top, which I assume is the name, is in red characters, and then the author is in red characters, and then in black characters, the strongest black characters. There are 4 black characters. Again, in Chinese, I don't read Chinese. And there's a bunch of there's a little bit of writing in there as well. So, okay, why are we finishing with this particular image?
This is a book written by a Chinese author in Qing Dynasty. The title translated into English is The Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio, or it also translates into The Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio. So this author, he spent 40 years and wrote almost 500 short stories. It's mainly about, it's a fantasy, it's horror, it's about ghosts, fox spirits. It's really beautifully written and become a classic, and for Chinese. Just before yesterday, because I checked about this before, the original English translation, they only translated a small portion, less than 25% of the book. Because the book was also written in classic Chinese, which is not quite modern Chinese. So it has to be very challenging for English-speaking people to translate it. But for Chinese people to translate, then our English is not good enough. Only before today, when I was preparing for this talk, I realized that a new translation just published this year.
Oh, wow.
And the entire collection, entire book, with 2 volumes, have been translated into English.
Oh.
So this book is very significant to me because it's inspired me to become a storyteller when I was a child. So when, again, during the Cultural Revolution, my dad was first locked up, then he was released, but he was suspended from work, and just like so many other intellectuals, and he also had to go to political meetings almost every night. However, at that time, I remember I was about 7 years old. 2 or 3 nights out of, like, in a week, there would be a power outage. So when there was a power outage, he didn't, meetings were canceled. So he got to stay home. And our house was raided twice before this. So I don't know how this book survived the raid, because we had this book, but we had to hide it, because this was considered not only banned book, but also a poison weights. Like, let's say that, this book is poison somehow, will poison young people's mind. Anyway, so during these nights, my father would take out the book from its hidden place, and we would draw our curtains and light a single candle, and my mother, my father, and I would huddle around the candle, and my father would read the stories from the book and translate it from ancient Chinese to modern Chinese.
Oh, wow.
So that's my earliest memory of storytelling. Like, before that time, Chinese parents way back when, they don't tell stories to their children, at bedtime. No such tradition. But that was the very memorable moments in my life. Actually, I got to listening to those stories from my father, and from that time, I think my love to the stories, to the spoken words, was fostered, was started from that time. And then after that, yeah, when I learned to read, I start to try to read everything I can find, read the stories myself, and then start to tell my friends, tell other kids the stories I have read or I have heard. So that's the before the writing me. That was the storytelling story.
That's great. What did your father teach? Like, he was a professor?
He was a professor, but he taught botany. Again, it was science he was teaching and researching. But he loved the Chinese literature.
Okay.
Yeah, he loved the Chinese literature and history.
Okay. And he taught botany, and so more of a scientist, would you say, or more of like it's more about agriculture? But
He was a scientist.
okay.
The old generation of Chinese intellectuals, they when I say the old generation, I mean they received their university education before 1949, and many of them actually also very good at poetry and Chinese literature, and so they also, many of them, they, even though they're scientists, they can write poems. Like it was not uncommon for those scientists to write the poems, and my father was one of them.
No, well, like for example, I know a little bit about that, about the sort of about the scholar, right? In the sense of, so for 15 years here in Hong Kong, I worked with a very successful business person. Like yeah, like but and then after retiring, he went into painting and also writing, and so he
Yeah,
was like, yeah. So this idea of a fully rounded scholar, right? When was the last time you read from the book?
from this book.
Yeah.
Oh, that was years ago. That was years ago. Yeah, because before the entire book was translated into English, I've been telling my friends. I said, one day when I finished all the writing, all the books I wanted to write, then I'll try to translate this book. But now it's been translated.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but look, your hands are still full, right? Because you have two more books coming up. So do you have is part two coming out soon? Like how's that evolving?
The second book is finished, but I'm still looking for a publisher.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so right now, what's your writing practice? Like, are you working on your third book? What are you doing in terms of because writing is a craft, right? So it's something you keep
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah, I'm still fine tuning the second book, and I'm trying to find time to translate the first book.
hmm
And I also work for time,
right,
so I'm still, like writing doesn't, at this stage, writing doesn't fit me, so I have to work
sure, no, of course, no,
another job.
I understand that
Yeah.
completely. Okay, so the first photo was of you dancing. The
Mm,
second photo was of you holding your published book. So the
yeah.
world of the author. The third photo was of the horse, and now
Yeah.
we're looking at this last image, which is the cover of this important book that put the seed or the passion of writing into you, right? Or
That's
storytelling.
correct.
So if life is a narrative, and if
Mm.
it is, and right now what you've done is you've curated this story. So why don't you talk about what is the bigger picture? Is there a bigger picture linking this all together, or are these just sort of facets or sides of who you are and how you tick, how you live, how you think?
I think there's a big picture. Or I think it may be God's design for me to come to this point in my life, because I used to blame God that the things I want, um, I don't have them. Like a family, kids, I feel really bitter about it,
Mm,
and why other people have all this, but not me. But I think in recent years, I start to realize that sometimes the pain and the suffering could be a gift in disguise. without the suffering of the 3 generations, I won't be able to write this trilogy. And my next trilogy will be based in Canada. It will be like my own story.
Mm-hmm.
And again, without all the pain and the suffering I have gone through, I don't know how I'm going to write the book, or if the book will become successful or can resonate from other people, right? I think as human being, when we share vulnerability, it brings us close.
Yep.
If you just sail through the life, everything works out for you. You have everything, you have it all, so-called have it all. Those stories are not touching. They're not going to move the readers. So I think also, hopefully, my book, and with many other really, really good books, they will bring hope to human being.
Right.
Despite of the suffering, of the pain, of the horrible things we have experienced, I think there has to be hope. When you have hope, when you have, as you said, when you put meaning in life, like now, the meaning of my life is to finish all the books I wanted to write. That gave me hope. That gave me the strength to move on, to be alive, basically.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing, for making yourself vulnerable. I really appreciate it. I will meet you halfway there, or I'll meet you there as well with my own sort of vulnerability, in that, coming to Hong Kong was a massive adventure. Working with Po Chung, which is the business leader, massive adventure. Then with the pandemic, Po became very sick, and then my income kind of dissolved. So my marriage kind of fell apart, and so right now I'm in that kind of time of finding the next stage, right? A new mission, and the podcast really is part of how I make meaning in my life, like sharing other people's stories.
This is a wonderful thing you're doing. Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
And also remember, this too shall pass, right?
Whew, yeah. Yeah, from people who know. Okay,
Yeah.
Tonga, thank you so much for your time. Do you want to say anything else? Like, you want to add one more thing? So actually, the name of your book, one more time.
The House Filler.
The House Filler, yes. Definitely, I'm so happy that you actually sat down and did it, and didn't have some ghostwriter come live with you for a year.
I know. I know. I'm glad I did it. I just want to say that to my readers or audience out there, if you have read my book, I really appreciate if you can leave a review either on Amazon, Goodreads,
For sure.
anywhere, Barnes and Noble, and Indigo, Walmart, Kobo. My books are available.
You don't have to name all of them, but yeah, but it's great. No, for sure. Leave a review for sure, especially if it helped move their understanding of the world.
Of course, yeah, and I also, it's a way for me to gather feedback.
Sure.
And next thing is, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me.
And thank you, Tonga. Thank you very much.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.